worried about the Super 2 and they were worried about the financial implications of all that stuff. And so they brought David Fry up with the idea that this could maybe satisfy the lineup and fix the lineup in many ways. So guess what? It hasn't. And we're past the date that you have to worry about. Get DeLauder up here. If you have to wait on Kafis, I'm fine with it. But DeLauder should be playing.
I just think with Lane Thomas and David Fry struggling alongside, meaning like they just needed bats, and you're already having problems getting them at bats because you have too many guys in this roster you're trying to play on. I mean, hell, I can't get back-to-back days of Cal Manzardo. So it's a little tough for me to really DeLauder, hashtag the promotion. It's really tough to go to harden the paint on this one, because I just need like certain guys to get every day at bats at this point, and that's not even happening.
Yeah, it's really not for me when you just look at the outfield. And I'll find DeLauder the at-bats. Kafis is harder to find the at-bats for. I get that. Manzardo, Santana, there's a logjam there, and I know they've been trying him out in the outfield and trying to get that going. I don't know that that's going to translate. I have no idea. But the only concern you have with DeLauder is if you bring him up and he turns out to just be your buddy Byron Buxton, essentially. And that's what he's been his entire.
Put some respect on his
entire baseball career. He's been Cleveland's Byron Buxton.
He's a 3-WAR player.
He's an awesome player. Everyone loves watching him play. No one questions his talent, but the man can't stay healthy. When somebody
brings his name up in trade conversations, we duke all over that man.
The man can't stay healthy. That's Buxton and DeLauder. I'm talking about the same person. It's the Spider-Man meme. But that's the same storyline with each. But as of right now, DeLauder is healthy. I want to see him play, Nick.
Okay.
I'm tired of it.
One thing I would say, I'm ambivalent about this. When it comes up, I'll be excited for it, but I'm not pounding down the door for it because I don't expect him to save the season either. One thing I would say is if he's going to get hurt, I'd rather get 3 games of him in Cleveland and then he gets hurt than another 3 games in Columbus and he gets hurt. I know it's such a dumb
you want the fanfare of it all?
No, I just want to be able to say, well, at least we know he's major league ready. It's an endorsement.
He's major league ready. I'll tell you right now. But we don't need to hear it. We don't need anything else. He's major league ready.
But it does. You and I both think that, but it doesn't matter until that organization shows that he's ready.
He's ready.
They're the
Call
ones,
him up.
They're the ones holding him back.
What are we waiting on?
Maybe a nice little 260 hitter, maybe a Luis Robert trade if Anthony Allant and Mac Robinson get their way.
Pop up again on ESPN. Thank you, Jeff Passan.
What was he? The 17th prospect?
I think it was 19th. But they definitely put the Guardians in there with the list of teams.
Yeah, well, yeah, everyone should be lining up for a 111 hitter.
Matt goes shifty eyes. I want to, Nick should read you that in between the break, not on the air because no one needs to hear it, but in between the break, what they had to say about him and just be like, that's your walk-off moment.
We're talking about the Gardos. Hashtag the promotion is trending. I still hate the hashtag.
Yeah.
Can't we come up with, Dolan's is cheap. Started like a decade ago and it still lives on in infamy. The promotion, again, just sounds like a bad movie, but this does bring us to a conversation I think is very fair to have with the deadline coming up. Because I think we've already had people say, do right by Jose and trade him, because they lost a couple series in a row and conveniently forgetting we were in the ALCS last year. I do think it's interesting that there's this growing buzz that Jose should be involved in some way in the Guardians' approach to the deadline.
All right, so what are we talking about? Are we talking about within the Kafis DeLauder conversation, or are we talking about like Duran and Ozuna conversation?
Meaning, like, if you're going to make a big deal one way or another, you have to run it by him. So if you're going to trade for a big piece, hey, Jose, what do you think about this guy? If you're going to trade a big piece, Jose, we beg you, may we trade this piece?
I mean, wouldn't Jose just be in the camp of do everything you possibly can at this point?
I bet you. I actually think Jose knows ball
because he's not shy of sharing the spotlight or anything like that. I mean, he did it with Lindor for so many years. If anybody could play a Robin to someone's Batman, he knows how to do that. And he's not playing Robin to Marcell Ozuna's Batman. That's not reality.
Yeah, but what was this reaction last year when they traded for Lane Thomas? Who?
That was a genuine moment. I think we all had that same reaction as well. A lot of us. You called him Lemon Law Lane, but like a lot of us were like, Lane Thomas, that's what you're doing?
I called him Lemon Law Lane because he hit 170 until September.
I think Jose only gets mad if you basically sit on your hands and do nothing. I think he gets angry if you in age 32 in a season where he's going to finish top 10 in the MVP voting, if you just kind of sit back and say like, no, we're good here.
I don't think Jose gets mad. I think Jose just goes and does what Jose does every day, which is go to work. I think which, if
anything, I wish he did show more emotion on this stuff. Well, I wish he did kind of go up to the Guardians front office and say, hey, I need you to do this.
So that's more
put some pressure on him.
That's a more genuine point than everyone trying to push their emotions on Jose. Like, I view the people who are like, Jose needs to go in. Like, Jose's going to be mad if they don't make a deal. It's like we have no evidence of that. We have no evidence either way. You are projecting your frustrations on him, which we don't need to do. He's happy here. They're happy he's here. Why are we creating something out of thin air because we're just a little upset? And I'm not even going to throw myself into that you're just a little upset about the direction of the team.
But it's interesting. He does get that little bit of it's not a Peterlin pass, but he gets a little bit of a pass from the fans about that idea that, like, Nick Chubb, for instance, for years, Nick Chubb was just the consummate professional, but Nick Chubb also wasn't going into the management's, going to Andrew Berry's, office and saying, hey, do this, make this trade, make this deal. And we all love Nick Chubb for it. We're never like, you need to be more of a leader. You need to do more of this. And Jose, in many ways, gets that same kind of pass where we just kind of accept the idea that he's not going to go into Antonetti and Chernoff's office and say, you need to do this and you're wasting or you're not doing right by me in any sort of way.
Yeah.
We just don't do that.
Well, because I don't think players in baseball have the same power that, like, Nick Chubb would even have in the NFL or Myles Garrett would have in the NFL.
And they certainly don't have the power that NBA players have either. We want to bring those guys in the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole different level. That's unparalleled power to a point that even fans are like, well, I like these guys having power, but maybe not this much power. I just think, listen, if you're going to make a big swing, and that can look a lot, that can look like, they can look like Duran from Boston. That can look like Ozuna. There's a couple other names from a Jeff Passan article that we'll get to. I want Jose to know if that guy's worth what you're going to give up for him. Like, hey, is this a player you think makes us better? Because I think Jose just knows ball. The opposite, though, hey, we're going to trade Emmanuel Clase. I'm not giving him veto power. No, the next 12 months is so important that because Jose's not going to be like, yeah, please trade Emmanuel Clase, trade Carlos, trade Lane Thomas. He's not going to say yes, or he's not going to be like, that's the greatest idea I've ever heard. He might be willing to veto that. And I just think the next 12 months and how they reorganize this roster around Jose are critical to them having another little run here in the next 2 to 3 years. Yeah,
no question. I'm fascinated to find out if you say he wouldn't have a say with Clase. I agree with that. And I think that just kind of speaks, maybe it just speaks to baseball in general, though, is that a lot of these guys, like, it's not my department almost. You look at it like that's relievers, that's the bullpen. I'm not really even touching that. But he'd know the value of adding a big-time bat in that lineup, and he'd know the value it adds to him. Like, right now, he's not protected by just about anybody. That 2-hole is one of the worst 2 holes in all of baseball. Imagine if we had a real guy in the 2 slot that was protecting in between Kwan and then J-Ram in the 3-hole. Imagine what that would do not only to his numbers.
Byron Buxton, maybe?
Yeah, well, Buxton can't stay healthy. We went over this yesterday.
You think Jose cares about that?
But if you had someone with the Buxton talent that could actually stay on the field, if you had someone like that in the 2-hole, imagine what that would do to the numbers that are already great for Jose as it is. It would only elevate him. So there's got to be a part of him that thinks to himself how much harder his job is because you have no one in the 2 spot. Yeah, I think Jose's been around enough to know that sometimes it's not your year and how the organization's going to operate in that moment. Like, I don't think you re-sign on a sweetheart of all sweetheart deals, a team-friendly hometown discount. I don't think you do that unless you understand, hey, there's going to be some years where we kind of are middling or this, that, and the other, and they're not going to make a big move because it just doesn't make sense. Well, there's a part of me that's always wondered if in the Antonetti and Chernoff, if you told them a few years ago, when Lindor was getting ready for free agency, you can keep one and only one. Part of me wondered if they would have always chosen J-Ram because of the passive nature that he naturally has. Lindor, I don't think, would have settled for the way that J-Ram just kind of seems like he just kind of goes with the flow and just kind of goes with whatever they put out in the field and says, this is what I have to do. Like, by all accounts, Lindor in New York he's very involved in what they do and what they say. I don't think they would have chosen Lindor for other reasons, and it's not about Jose's go with the flow attitude. I think it's because Jose, I think it would have been part of it. I think the biggest thing is Jose's an incredible part of their locker room and is a big reason why they've had consistent culture. So was Lindor, though. Lindor was awesome in the locker room, and Lindor was great in the locker room, like up and down. Like, he does this thing in New York that everyone raves about, and every single game he goes after each individual player, and he goes up and gives them constant affirmations. Like, and when he was here, he was great with those guys. Oh yeah,
Frankie's got an ego that Jose doesn't have, though. And I think that is something that doesn't
He was very
play.
beloved in that locker room, though. He was very, very beloved.
Talk to Jason Kipnis.
I have.
Yeah, have you heard what Lindor said about Kipnis and vice versa?
Yeah, okay. In recent years, we've had a couple different things, but I was in those clubhouses in those moments. Like that was about as close of a bond as you could possibly find. Like Lindor was beloved in that locker room.
Listen, we're way off topic here, but I just think the point is, I think it's unfair to Jose to be like, well, he's here because he just kind of goes with the flow. No, he's here because he wanted to be here and he took a hometown discount to do so.
No, not saying go with the flow, but I do think it makes it easier for Antonetti and Chernoff. And I think if we were pitting the two of them together and you said you get to only choose one of them, I think J-Ram, like one of the pluses in the plus minus category, would have been on the J-Ram side of things. We can do whatever we need to do, and we're never going to hear him knocking on our doorstep saying this needs to change.
I couldn't
promise that with Lindor.
I want Jose to have the this is this guy. This is what I like about this guy. This is how this guy fits our lineup. I think he can give you great baseball acumen. Do I want him? And honestly, if there's a guy he really doesn't want to play with, I probably do want to hear that at this deadline. But I'm not giving him the hey, you can't trade Emmanuel Clase veto powers. I might be splitting hairs there, but that's if you're going to involve Jose in the deadline conversation, he's earned it, and we love Jose, and I think he's brilliant when it comes to baseball. That's where I want him.
I don't think he's even asking for it. I agree with you. I wouldn't involve him in the Class A discussions, but I think part of J-Ram is he's not really even asking for the conversation.